Welcome back to another video, and in this video we're going to be continuing on with our macOS development with AppKit tutorial series, and in this particular tutorial we are going to be taking a look at how we can make a view clickable in our AppKit applications. Now, there are instances where you might need to add custom gestures to views for specific bits of functionality. Now, one thing that I should bring up when we're talking about these, what are called gesture recognizers, is that if you have an assistive technology, like voiceover, voice control, or something like that, you may or may not be able to execute said gesture. So one thing you should always do is always have an alternative way for the user to execute the same action that the gesture executes, so you don't have to perform the gesture. In fact, the Human Interface Guidelines does recommend this as well, so that way all your users can use every bit of the functionality of your app that everybody else can use. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with this video by talking about the NSClickGestureRecognizer, which will allow us to detect clicks on any view that the gesture recognizer is associated with. So how do we create a NSClickGestureRecognizer? Well, in Xcode, what we're going to do is above our programmatic constraints code there, we're going to say let click gesture equals NS click gesture recognizer. Now this object initializer is going to take two parameters, a target and an action. The action is going to be a selector, so make sure that your method that gets called is annotated with @objc. You should understand how to do this by now. So inside of the initializer, we'll say target is going to be self, and then the action is going to be #selector. And the method that we're going to execute, I already have it. I already have the basic stub created. It'll be click recognized, like that. All right. So that is our object instantiated. Now we can configure this by saying click gesture dot, and then we have a few different methods here. So we have, or rather properties, button mask. This is a bit mask representing the different mouse buttons that you can use for representing, like for what button needs to be clicked in order for the gesture to be recognized. We're not going to worry about that right now. Number of clicks required is a property that will tell the gesture recognizer, in order for the code in your selector to be executed, you must recognize this certain number of clicks. And number of touches required is primarily for the touch bar. But this basically says, okay, how many touches should there be for this click gesture recognizer to be fired off? All right, so we want number of clicks required. We'll make this a single click, but you could also say double or triple or quadruple or however many you want. Just make sure it's not too many, because you don't want your gesture to be overly complicated. All right, so that is our gesture recognizer customized as far as we need it to be. Now, at the very bottom of our view controller, I have a private method that is annotated with @objc. This method takes in a sender of type NSClickGestureRecognizer. And what we're going to use that sender for is inside of this method's body. The first thing we need to do is determine whether or not there is a view associated with our gesture recognizer. And if there isn't, then we want to return. We don't want to do anything, because at that point, there's no view we can manipulate in recognition of the gesture. So to do this, we'll simply use a guard statement. Guard sender dot view is not equal to nil. If it is, then we can. If it is nil, then we want to simply return, because again, there's no view that we can manipulate, so we can't do anything. If this does succeed and we reach this point, then we can make the modifications that we need to make. So we'll say when we click on our NS view in the center of our window, we simply want to change its background color to some random color. And I have an array of colors in my constants file that we can use for this. We can say sender.view.layer.background color is equal to constants.colors.random elements .color .cg color, just like that. All right, cool. And that is the action method for our gesture recognizer. The last thing that we need to make this work is we need to add the gesture recognizer to our view. So back up and configure. We can say v.add gesture recognizer, and we will add the click gesture to the view like that. And we should be good to go. Let's go ahead and run our code now. All right, so here's our window. You can see our square right there in the center of the window. If we try to click it, the background will change. Probably shouldn't be clicking that fast, but you can see that it does in fact change. It also will change when you click it with VoiceOver. All right. So with that, that pretty much does it for this video on NSClickGestureRecognizer. Thank you all so very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.